Hi, everybody. This is Jake Gibson, joined alongside my friend and co-host Kevin Barral. And Kevin, a lot has happened these last few days in the world of FIU athletics, more specifically FIU football, as we have seen a lot of controversy roll out in regards to a few people involved with the FIU football program. And for the most part, we've kept quiet, just kind of taking it all in, seeing what in the world is happening. There was a point where there was a new story coming out every couple of hours, so it was hard to talk a bit about it then. But I think now is a good time to finally address what the hell happened these past couple of days. Before we continue, just want to clarify a few things here, okay? In regards to head coach Mike McIntyre, Kevin and I, we can both say this as truthfully as we can. We love the dude, and when he's been super nice to us, he's appeared on our show a couple of times. He's always happy to answer our questions at the press conferences, both on Tuesday as well as after the game, win or lose. And Reggie Peterson, on the other hand, we know him very well too, right? We had a very fun episode with him. You and I, Kevin, have both spoken to him a lot. He's another cool dude, and I know Scott Carr, obviously the AD. We know him very well as well. Always a super fun guy, Kevin. Just want to clarify that.
Yeah, and I guess just on my end, obviously, I'm the one who kind of sparked a lot of this. And
it's funny. It's funny, that you mentioned that, because we'll try to do our best for those that are somehow not in the loop as of right now to explain what the hell happened. There were 3 big posts on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, that sort of spearheaded all of this. So I'd like for us, to just go over it, talk a little bit about what happened, and give our thoughts on that specifically. And let's just start immediately. This was
but I mean, before we do, I do want it to be clear that I don't mean any bad intent with the tweet. That was never my intention. I never thought that I would get a response from T.Y. Hilton, Maurice Alexander Jr., and a lot of former alumni players. I never expected it to get to where it was. I've been on the beat now for, 2 years, I would say, officially. But I've been around since Mac got here. You have as well, Jake, and I have nothing but respect for what Mike McIntyre has been able to do. They went from a 1-11 team, 1-11 to 4-8 this following season, and obviously, I think we could all speak for not even just ourselves, but Mike and the rest of the team, that they don't like the position that they're in right now. They don't want to be 3-7. They don't believe that they should have been 3-7. I would assume they believe a lot of the games that they've lost by one score, and there's been a lot of them that they should have won. They should have come out the other way. We could say that. They could say that. And again, we love FIU. I mean, I love the school. I'm a current student at it. Jake, you're an alumni. We have been here for it all. We're always at every single event possible, athletics-wise at least. We talk to Scott Carr every time, President Jessel, Heath Glick. We get along very well with everyone in the school. And again, I want to make it very clear, there was no bad intent with my tweet.
Yeah.
I saw something that was said. I posted it, and obviously I did not think it would blow up the way it did. Neither did you. And we have nothing but respect for everyone that works there. We know what they're trying to do. They're trying to grow the brand, grow it, put FIU on the map. They've been nothing but great with us in our podcast. I mean, every guest that we've gotten on is thanks to FIU Athletics. Yes. They gave me the opportunity this past week to travel with the team, something that you don't really see anymore. You don't see schools traveling media, or even a sports team traveling media. So I am deeply, deeply thankful for the opportunity for that. And obviously just giving us a platform to do what we're doing, allowing us to be the official fan podcast of FIU Athletics. So I wanted that to be very clear, because obviously I didn't touch the Reggie Peterson tweet. I didn't know that was going to drop until maybe a minute or two before. And that goes with you as well, Jake. But again, we'll dive into it all. You're going to read it off. I'm assuming it's a very long explanation from Reggie. But again, we won't be giving too much of an opinion, I would say. I think the most we'll say is definitely that we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Obviously, there's still 2 more football games left. They're facing Kennesaw State. We're recording this on Friday evening, so I'm assuming this will drop Saturday morning. And that we will hopefully have a fun halftime and post-game show.
Yes.
Hopefully, about that point, you're 4-7, and then obviously Middle Tennessee State, and that'll be the end of it. But again, there was no bad intent with the tweet. I didn't mean any harm with it. It's just me doing my job, and then obviously Jake, you doing yours, retweeting it from the accounts that had to be retweeted from, and then after that, it was beyond me what was going to happen.
Correct. So yeah, you mentioned it, Kevin. I love FIU. I spent 4 years here. There was some of the best years of my life. Got my communications degree. Was able to cover FIU even before Scott Carr and Mike McIntyre got here. When it was instead Butch Davis and Pete Garcia and all that craziness that happened then. So just wanted to clarify all of that. You said it well, Kevin. It's just business. We were just doing our job. We were doing what we were told. In this specific case, Kevin was the messenger. Don't blame the messenger. If it was not Kevin, it would have been somebody else. I know, maybe perhaps Walt from the Miami Herald, who, by the way, was the one who asked this question in the first place. So without further ado, let's start talking about what happened on Tuesday, starting with the tweet that Kevin put out on November 19th at 8:16 p.m. Interesting time. This tweet has amassed over 97,000 views. Kevin, I know you never thought this is how this would have resulted, getting 96,000 views, 44 comments, and I'm not even sure how many quote tweets, but I'm sure it's extensive.
Too many.
Mike McIntyre was asked if next year is a make or break year, and he said, and quote, "We look at every game as a make or break game. It's always tough to rebuild a program. This program hasn't had good history at all since the beginning of it. Our process is building the right culture and doing all of the right things here." And obviously this clip that is attached.
And I suggest you to play the clip from start to finish, because I know people are going to maybe assume it's a misquote. Also, and I think it's only right to play the thing.
So let's be sure to turn up your volume if you can't hear well. Let's hear this clip.
Also, like your history, I think usually turn teams around. You've taken teams that had losing records when you took them over, and third year or fourth year, I think Colorado was fourth year when you got the winning record. Do you feel like next year is a make or break for you and this team?
I think that we look at every game as a make or break game. I mean, in any first season, second season, every game's important as we go. It's always tough to rebuild a program. And this program hasn't had good history at all since the beginning of it, really. And so our process is building the right culture, doing all the right things there. And I think our team's really improved from the first year to this year, and this year compared to last year. We just haven't got over the hump in some of the closer games, and need to do that. And it is a process. At San Jose State, my second year, we were 3-7, then we won the last two. And then the next year we had a great year at Colorado, because when we took that program, it was really down, just like San Jose State's was. And the third year we were 4-8. And then the next year we had the biggest turnaround in a 100-year history of the Pac-12. So it's always a process, and building it the right way, it takes time. Even when they talk about all the transfer portal stuff and all that type of thing. In G5, as you can tell, the transfer portal hurts G5 teams more than it hurts Power 4 teams.
Okay, so that was Mike McIntyre talking exactly what was said in the tweet by Kevin. Now, if we scroll around, I already saw it. If we scroll around some of the comments under this tweet, by the way, trigger warning, there might be some naughty words here in the comments. We'll try to gloss over them if we can. But quite literally, the first comment that you see pop up is from, I would say, the greatest FIU football alumni of all time, T.Y. Hilton, NFL wide receiver, Pro Bowler, saying somebody does not know his program history. Is he serious right now? Maurice Alexander Jr. right under him, went to 3 bowl games straight and had a 9-win season. And you keep going here. It's just some people making memes, some people hating on FIU, some just sort of talking about what Mike said and saying that he was wrong. We'll leave it at that for now. Now, it's funny, Kevin. We actually, when we recorded the Paws Up preview for Kennesaw, which I hope you all enjoyed, by the way, we knew about this. We knew about the quotes that he said, because obviously you were there. And we actually recorded a segment that ultimately had to be cut out of that podcast because it needed to be under an hour, explaining our thoughts on it. So we'll spend a whole lot of time talking about it, but I think it's obvious between you and I, Kevin, that what Mike McIntyre said was not a good idea. And I think it's blatantly untrue because FIU has had some great seasons in program history, a conference championship when they were members of the Sun Belt. At one point, they went to 3 straight bowl games. They've won 2 bowl games. Obviously, that win against the University of Miami is something that FIU fans will remember forever. And you have a lot of NFL talent that has come from FIU, such as T.Y. Hilton, not to mention Jonnu Smith, who plays for the Miami Dolphins and whatnot. So, Kevin, it was just it was not a good statement by Mike McIntyre, and I'm assuming if he had a chance to do it all over again, he definitely would not have worded that the way he did.
Yeah, let me make sure I'm saying this right. I think a lot of what Mike said in that was correct. I mean, rebuilding a program is not easy by any stretch. It's not. Yes. Usually, we've seen him in the past, in his past jobs with San Jose State, Colorado State. It took time. I mean, it took 3 seasons with Colorado State, in year 3 in Colorado State, and San Jose State.
Yeah.
To get to that winning season. And the same one with Colorado State. It took him 4. So, I mean, ideally, you're looking at next season as the make or break. Now, he was also right at the end of what he said. He did say that the transfer portal has, Colorado. My bad.
It's good.
Yeah, so what he said at the end was right. The transfer portal has really hurt the G5. If it's because of NIL, because obviously, I mean, NIL is, I think, the root of it all. You look at it, I mean, you have Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson. I mean, you know those teams. I mean, those are offering over hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to these guys to come, even if it's not to start, just to be on the team as good depth. And unfortunately, that's just the matter of the game. We're going to see that happen to every single school at the G5. They're going to lose someone unless they have good NIL funding. And to those that listen to the G5 Daily podcast, Eric Henry did mention that FIU is going to have a substantial amount of NIL. So this is not breaking news unless you don't listen to the podcast.
You should. It's really good.
It is awesome podcast. Highly suggest you all just check it out. But they think they're going to be setting themselves up pretty well for the transfer portal to try to retain some players. So we'll see what happens there. But again, coach is right. Mike McIntyre is completely right. You look at the 2022 to 2023 team. They lost a hell of a lot of players. I mean, Tyrese Chambers entered the portal. You lost almost the full entire offensive line. You lost a lot of players on defense. That's right. Now, here's where a statement kind of went wrong. And I don't think, and it didn't really have much to do with the question,
it didn't.
It kind of felt like you kind of went a little bit off track. I mean, look, FIU's 3-7. You just lost bowl eligibility for another season. And it's been tough. This has been a tough season. You lost to an FCS team. You lost to a team that going into the game was 0-6. And you've had some really tough games against Jacksonville State, Liberty, and Sam Houston. 3 teams that are really good. 3 teams that you took all the way up until the end. Liberty, I mean, you took the overtime. They hadn't lost up till that point. So it's been a tough season. On paper, this is a really good football team. Kewan, Eric Rivers, Nana Burris,
a lot of talent.
Antonio Ferguson, and then on the defensive side, which has actually been pretty good, you have the safeties, JoJo Evans, CJ Christian, the corners, Deuce Blades, and then you have Zeke Massis on the other side. I mean, it's a good team.
Travion Barnes.
Travion Barnes, Elijah Anderson, Taylor, Reggie when he was on the team to begin the season. I mean, there was a lot of depth and there was a lot of good star potential there, and unfortunately just hasn't panned out. But yeah, Coach Mack was wrong. I mean, he mentioned it in a statement. He mentioned the Sun Belt title. He mentioned the bowl games. And, you don't even look at program history as just that. You look at it from the players you've produced. Jonnu Smith, T.Y. Hilton, and Alex McGough, who recently signed back with the Packers. James Morgan, who I believe went to the NFL as well.
He did.
Tier Tart. I mean, Anthony Gator was also at the NFL level for a bit. So you got to look at it, and there has been his success. Now, I think what maybe he tried to mean by that is that they
recent success.
Recent success. That's 100% true. The last 2 years of the Butch Davis era were atrocious. 0-5 and 1-11. And they hadn't won an FBS game until Coach Mack got there. And I believe that win was against New Mexico State, I want to say, when they were an independent team. So, look, I forgive Coach Mack. I don't mind. I know he's someone who would have liked to take back what he said. I don't think he meant to say it in any bad intent by any means. So we'll leave it at that. Obviously he shouldn't have said that, but again, yeah, I think that's the best way we could put it. Obviously, there's a lot more to dive into, so we'll keep it short and sweet. But again, I think he would love to take that moment back, and obviously, he would like to take back whatever happened and those comments that we're seeing on social media back too.
If he just said this program hasn't had good recent history, then everything I think Mike McIntyre says in that statement is 100% factual. Obviously, he's not happy with back-to-back 4-8 seasons. I know Scott Carr isn't happy, and the players aren't happy because FIU has not been to a bowl game since 2019, and that's 5 years ago. So if he said this program has a good recent history, I would agree to that. And aside from that, the other messages that he talked about, rebuilding a program is tough, like you said, and building the right culture should be what FIU football is doing. Now, there was another tweet put out by an FIU player that counters this, and we'll get to that later. But for now, let's go into the second tweet that kind of rustled everyone's feathers, if you will. It was actually an apology from head coach Mike McIntyre about that tweet, or about what he said, not about the tweet specifically. So let me pull that up here on my end. Mike McIntyre posted this on 7:19 p.m. on the 20th of November. That was back on Wednesday. So Wednesday night, it has 66,000 views. Oops, I accidentally closed out of it. Let me pull that back up. I'm seeing a lot of MLB action on the side there, Kevin. I know, Kevin, you were definitely busy with that.
Look, he follows us, guys. He loves us.
He does. Yeah, Mike McIntyre, again, we've had him on a few episodes. We had him back on episode 10. And then we had him back on episode 60. So, and obviously a lot of Paws Up on location videos and post-game pressers, both win and loss. So here's what he said. I'll read it here. Quote, "I would like to take a moment to clarify and apologize for a comment I made during yesterday's press conference. What I intended to convey is that with any rebuilding process, there are challenges. While those challenges are part of the journey, my comments did not properly reflect many historical achievements for our program and players. Hearing stories from former players has been incredible, especially about the 5 bowl appearances, the conference championship win, the historic victory over the University of Miami, and the bowl win in just our 8th year. We're proud of how our student athletes have given their all to our program, and many have gone on to achieve great success on and off the field. We have a clear vision for the future of our program, and while we are not there yet, I truly believe we are on the right path. I have already seen promising signs of what is to come, and I remain deeply committed and optimistic about our program and our players," end quote. This tweet has been seen over 66,000 times, and as I'm sure you can imagine, there are quite a few comments, some of which sympathizing with head coach, but the majority of them kind of alluding to the idea that what Mike said, what's done is done.
Did someone put the transfer portal post on there?
Did they? Oh my goodness, they did. That is a rough post to put that under. We're just going to gloss over that.
That wasn't an FIU player, thankfully.
Yeah, it wasn't. But bottom line, a lot of people still were not happy with Mike McIntyre's apology. Some people have found it to be, what's the right word? Maybe robotic, more like not completely coming from the head coach. I mean, the presentation is not great. It looks like the Notes app on the iPhone or something along those lines. I do think what Mike McIntyre was trying to allude to in that apology is similar to what we talked about, and that I do think it's for the most part genuine, and that Mike McIntyre, bottom line, he wants to win. He wants to produce a winning program here at FIU because, we're smack dab in the middle of one of the best football hotbeds in the country. He knows that we should be winning and we should be going to bowl games. It hasn't happened yet. And I think he's been trying his hardest to make that clear. It just came out wrong when he initially said that in the press conference.
Yeah, I don't have too much more to add. You got to give him a lot of credit for going out there and really just apologizing for what he said. I think he wants, as we mentioned, he wants to take that back. He would take it back if he had the opportunity to. And I'm sure he will apologize on Tuesday when we do speak to him if that does happen. So, yeah, I mean, again, we have a good relationship with Coach McIntyre. I hope that still continues to be the case. I really do, because I have a lot of respect for what he's been able to do at FIU and what he could still do at FIU. He's recruited very well, in my opinion. He brings in Kewan Jenkins, and in his first recruiting class, now in this most recent one that's going to come up now, you get Sterling Joseph, Flux's brother, who's really good. You get some really big wide receivers. I'm really excited to see. So yeah, again, I think Coach Mack is leading this program in the right direction to a certain extent. So yeah, we'll see. I have a lot of respect for him, and I think he's a good man. I really do. Obviously, we can't testify to what he said for the remainder of this podcast, because if a lot of it is true, then obviously a lot of it needs to be addressed.
Yes.
But yeah, again, just I have a lot of respect for Mike McIntyre, and I hope that our relationship that we've been able to build for the past 2 years, now going on to 3, could remain the same. Maybe it won't, just knowing obviously I'm the one who sent the tweet, but again, just doing my job, and again, you know, I respect them a lot for coming out with an apology.
Yeah. And yeah, we talked about this earlier, but again, FIU, Scott Carr, whoever at FIU Athletics, if you are watching this, just please, Kevin Burrell was doing his job. He's obviously he does work for the Paws podcast. He also does work for SI, and he has to put out tweets and he has to put out statements talking about FIU, because that's what he's paid to do. He gets paid the dollar bills to do that. And like I said earlier, if it wasn't Kevin that did that, it would have been somebody else. Right, Kevin was the first
and,
to do it.
And the full video is on YouTube.
It's on their YouTube channel. Yeah,
I didn't take that video. That's on the YouTube channel, and I think the last time I checked, it was still there. The full video with it needs to be noted that Mike McIntyre was followed up once again with almost the same exact question to put the fine line. It was I believe is the direct quote, and he didn't mention the whole history thing again, but he said a lot of what he said originally in this first answer.
Yes. So we thought this would maybe be all well and done. Obviously, regardless of the apology for Mike McIntyre, there was still a lot of controversy. There was still a lot of talk all around social media about whether Mike is the right coach for this job or not. A lot of yeses, a lot of no's, a lot of we'll sees. But there was one tweet that really popped off and took this scenario for FIU Athletics. Like if it was on a scale of 9 on a controversy factor, it went to freaking infinity when this tweet came out, and it was from former FIU linebacker Reggie Peterson, who I had mentioned at the top. Kevin and I know very well. He was on an episode of the podcast. I want to say 59. He was on episode 59. Yeah, he was, because 60 was Mac. So he put out a lengthy statement in response to what Mike McIntyre said, talking a bit about some things he found out, some things he saw from his perspective. And it's worth noting, obviously, Kevin and I, we see Mike McIntyre maybe once or twice a week, maybe 3 times a week sometimes. Reggie, you know, he was a player. He saw head coach Mike McIntyre just about every other day when he was a player. So his words carry a lot of weight here. That's what I'm trying to say. So let me pull up what he talked about. The caption is, "The reason I left FIU football." I'm just going to say it. This has garnered over 361,000 views. This was posted yesterday at 1:28 p.m. or actually 2 days ago, because this will drop on Saturday morning. So, but strap in, because this is going to take a while, but I do want to dive into what Reggie talked about, because there's a lot of important information here. So let's just get right into it. So here we go. The reason I left FIU is the title of this message. Quote, "It is a team built off lies to keep people there. Coach McIntyre is a great guy. Don't get me wrong, but how he runs FIU football team is like a Ponzi scheme. It's promises left and right that are never kept, either about money, NIL, or playing time. He doesn't know how to be truthful to his players because he's scared to hurt their feelings, or he doesn't want future talent to transfer. So he makes money promises or playing time promises to keep them there. So 90% of FIU football feels like they're going to play or make it to the NFL. Reason why we didn't have any excitement on the sideline is because majority of the team were absolutely vexed to the point they couldn't even cheer. It's bigger than football. I've never seen so many people take mental health breaks than I've seen since 2022 to 2024 under Coach Mike McIntyre, me being one of them. This scheme is hurting our hopes, dreams, and future. I've never seen so many people transfer out of FIU as well from 2022 to 2024. A lot of the media thinks, quote, it's to play better competition, end quote. Not fully true. He wears his heart on his sleeve and doesn't know how to control his emotions. Alumni who played for Coach Mack in 2022 knows exactly what I'm talking about in the locker room versus FAU. This is not out of hate, despite, or anger. I love FIU too much to see it like this. I bleed blue and gold. I have love for Coach Mack, but what is being done behind closed doors is not right. Half or even majority of the football team is scared to speak up, but feel the same way that I do. I'll speak up. I'll be the black sheep. After I realized what was going on and what has been done to me, I could not play another snap or down for Coach Mack. I told him, quote, I would rather hang up my cleats than put on another helmet and shoulder pad, giving it my 110%, about to hurt myself to play for a coach like you. And that coach will never win or be bowl eligible if he keeps treating players like this. You're throwing chairs in the locker room, mistakenly hitting a player, and then you're tossing someone's helmet at practice, telling them to go get it. It's not right. But when HR or important people comes to the practice, he's on his best behavior. We are a Division I program. Act like it. I went to him and the athletic director, but nothing happened. It's a scheme going on. He thinks it's loyalty with the players, but it is not. I wanted to leave in November 2023 after the season I had. I wasn't supposed to play in 2022 and 2023. He brought people to play over me because he didn't think I was good enough. That's football. I understand that. I proved him wrong, and he was shocked after my 2023 season. He told me, quote, why leave after the season you just had? More NIL is coming in, and you're the man here next year. It's just you, end quote. On the count of one hand is how many conversations I had with Coach Mack in 3 years. I trusted him, and I was scared of the portal, so I stayed. After the portal closed, he flipped into a different guy. He told the seniors, quote, portal's closed. If you want to leave, leave, end quote. Others and I were completely shocked. Eventually, 2024 comes. Coach Mack knows I know how to lead the FIU football team. They listen to me. But he didn't want to tell me verbally that it's not my skills he wanted. He needed my leadership and coaching. He had better plans for others with more eligibility instead of my one last season. So I was getting tossed aside. The bunch of NIL to keep me here never came, and my rotation was changed after grading out the highest in multiple practices. With more information, I realized I was being played with. I asked him about it, and he got all sensitive, like I caught him in a lie, like I was accusing him of a deadly crime. I was verbally abused, my religion was questioned and thrown in my face, and I listened to how terrible I was on and off the field. He tried to belittle me like my concerns were invalid. He doesn't know how to listen to other people's opinions. I'm a guy whose praise for this team brings people closer to Christ and just trying to be a light in someone's dark day. I always had a smile on my face. I've never been in trouble, ever. I asked God to give me a sign of what's going on. McIntyre's response toward me was a sign of manipulation. The hardest thing for me was to leave the bonds that I created on the football team. Only props I give is that he hired some of the best coaching staff who are excellent coaches, beautiful role models, great father figures. I only played with Butch Davis for 2020 and 2022. Yes, we had losing seasons, but I remember more meaningful memories in those 2 years than with Coach McIntyre as a family. So the story behind FIU is bigger than all of us. I'm just blessed to be a part of it. End quote. That was a lot to take in. The responses to this tweet are mainly sympathizing. Of course, there's some memes sort of about this, but the majority of these comments are sympathizing with Reggie. Okay, Billy, go. Even advertising him to Indiana. Anyway, so with all of that said, that was a lot to take in there, Kevin. And just going to say this, Mike McIntyre and FIU Athletics need to come out and address what Reggie said, because as just an FIU fan who happens to cover the team, a lot of what Reggie said about the helmets being thrown, questioning his religion, and the overall manipulation tactics is very concerning. And it's very disturbing to read that and to hear what Reggie Peterson was talking about from the heart. And obviously it's not a good look for FIU football and FIU Athletics. They need to come out and really talk about this, because it's just not a good view.
Yeah. Let's see how I'm going to say this as best as possible.
Take your time, Kevin.
I do agree that a statement needs to be made or come out. I know Mac made one. I think the next one should be from Scott Carr or the President Jessel. But look, I think the craziest part about this whole thing is that players are retweeting, quote tweeting this, coming out saying that this is true. And, you know, I got wind of some of it. Obviously, I mean, you're around the team for enough to know that some of this, you hear about this stuff. I'm not going to say exactly what I heard, because I don't want to say it because I don't feel comfortable saying it, but you get wind of stuff. And, you know, when Reggie left the team, I didn't know about this stuff either. I had only understood that maybe this was due to playing time. Obviously, in that Indiana game, he didn't play a lot. He played very little, actually. So that obviously just stands out to you, and just like, whoa, that's interesting. Okay. And when he left, I spoke to Reggie after, and we said we would talk about it one day, and we haven't spoken about it since. But I mean, he came out with everything. So yeah, but I think the crazy part is that a lot of the players from the 2022 team did come out and say this is true, this happened. I think what a lot of them are referring to is the 2022 game against Florida Atlantic, the Boca Raton Bowl, or the Shula Bowl, where they said that Mike McIntyre threw a chair accidentally and hit a player. I do need this to be very clear. Mike McIntyre threw the chair on accident. He did not mean to hit a player. I think Reggie has come out and said that too, and I think even mentioned that in his statement. He did not mean to hit a player whatsoever. He did throw a chair, but he didn't mean to hit someone. Obviously, you still hit someone, and you shouldn't have thrown a chair if that is true. So again, look, we'll get more clarity on the situation soon. But again, we have a lot of respect for Mike. The Mike McIntyre that we know and we see, we have a lot of respect for. He's a very nice guy. He's been very helpful with us once again. But look, man, you are right. A lot of this is pretty disturbing to read. And I was pretty disturbed to read the comments, at least, that players did leave behind, kind of going out there and confirming that this is true, which was, it was definitely tough to read. And obviously this is a former player. So I do ask myself, how much of it do you take, like legitimate, because it's a former player. But I mean, he's had a lot of support behind him. And I mean, as you said, that tweet is almost at 400,000 views. So I'll leave it at that. I don't think we really need to say much more ourselves, Jake. We'll obviously have to find out what happens next week, which is, I think, when we'll get more of a statement or at least more clarity on the situation. So, yeah.
Yes. You said it well, Kevin. There's still so much more information that's out there that hasn't been unearthed yet, and I'm sure will by the time this season is over. And we'd like to finish this chapter seeing what either Mike McIntyre or Scott Carr, or even, as you mentioned, Kenneth Jessel, says in response to what Reggie said. But just know that we're big fans, and we have been fortunate enough to grow friendships with literally everyone involved in this dilemma.
That is the crazy part. Yeah.
Yes, we're friends with everyone, so we can't stand here and pick a specific side, because, for one thing, not all the information is there. Another thing is that the football season is still going on. We take on Kennesaw today, and then next week is Senior Day against Middle Tennessee, which, of course, we will be there. We will be covering the game as we usually do, and
no, interesting.
It'll be an interesting game for sure. A lot can be decided about jobs in these next couple of games, and obviously, everyone is allowed to have their own opinions on who should be the head coach of this football program and who should be the leader of this team. You're absolutely allowed to believe in whatever you want to believe as far as that. That's not what this video was about, really. It was sort of informing you all of what has happened and sharing some thoughts about what has occurred. So if you really want our insight of the state of FIU football and all of that, we'll probably talk more about that after the season is over. And there's still a lot of football to be played, and hopefully a lot of good memories to be created out of this, because a lot of records can be broken. Obviously, these games mean so much to the players, even without the ability to go to a bowl game. A lot of players are, adding to their highlight reel, looking to make a name for themselves to potentially be drafted or signed by someone in the NFL, UFL, CFL, whatever it may be. So
you also have to think, Eric Rivers could become the FIU he could break the record for most touchdown receptions.
That would be amazing.
And Travion Barnes, who is expected to play at the moment, from what I understand, could become the assisted tackles leader in program history in a single season. He could break that record, and he could set himself pretty well to break the total tackles record, which Sage Lewis, who did comment about the situation, currently holds. It's a 132. Barnes is currently at 109. So one big game against Kennesaw State could definitely help you out there. But yeah, man, I mean, you kind of said it best. Look, we'll definitely dive into the situation of the football program. If somehow there will be a new head coach, we'll obviously dive into all the options. There's a lot of options and a lot of fun ones that we can talk about. But again, right now we are focused on Mike McIntyre, what he's going to do, what he can do, what he will do. And we're confident in Mike. And we're coming out and saying that, I think both of us pretty clear on right here on this podcast. And
yes,
we appreciate everything FIU Athletics has done, from the creative side with Hunter, Christian Almanza, all those people over there, Darren, Johnny, Lucas, and I mean, Scott Carr, Mike McIntyre, Jeremy Ballard, Rich Witten, everyone. I mean,
everyone.
We love FIU. We love FIU Athletics, and we will continue to support them, help them out with anything they need, help them out to brand the school, make it bigger than what it was when Scott first got here. And we're excited for what's to come. I mean, damn, dude, we have Pitbull Stadium. We have the Vice jerseys, Biscayne blue, new field design every week. I mean, you can't ask for it any better here at FIU. And if you're a recruit watching, or if you're a fan watching that, you're just a college football fan, tune into FIU football. It's a fun brand of football. It's fun. We have some good times, to our pre, post, halftime, whatever it is, shows. We have some fun guests, some fun stories, and, there's still more to come. Basketball is still now up and running. We have baseball coming up soon, softball as well, and volleyball just wrapped up too. So, look, FIU is a fun school. We're in Miami. We're having a good time, and we are. Just I would say keep supporting FIU, because we love this school. We really do. I love this school. It's changed your life. I would assume it's changing mine, and it's awesome. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. I mean, it's hard for me to. I'm sorry, but talk FIU because it's hard. It's hard to do it because you love the school so much, but you obviously see the flaws and what needs to be built, and I'm sure so does Scott Carr. And I think Scott Carr, more than anyone, wants to win. He wants to win. He came from UCF that went undefeated 2 years in a row. I am more than sure he wants to do that here at FIU. He wants to do even bigger stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well said, Kevin. Well said. So we'll wrap it up there. And like I mentioned earlier, we're focused on how this football season ends. And be sure to tune in to our halftime report and our post-game show following the conclusion of Kennesaw State. And obviously, we'll be back at it with our pregame show next week. Hopefully, we'll have some good news to share then. But until then, just, again, we can't appreciate you guys for loving FIU as much as we do and watching the content that we produce. We are so thankful for it, because our platform continues to grow, and it helps us with creating better content and obviously giving you guys more stuff to watch and support. So thank you guys. So thank you guys very much. Go Panthers always. Paws up.
Paws up.